Joining me now to fill us in on why he thinks he is the way to fix the government is former governor of New Mexico, Gary Johnson. Governor, thank you very much for joining me. Now, you say the biggest problem...
Lindsay, it's great to be on. And
keep going.
Well, it's great. It's great to be on, and what a wonderful introduction. Thank you.
Absolutely, Manila Chan does a great job. Now, you say the biggest problem facing this nation is the government's more than $20 trillion debt. How are you going to get us out of that? You were certainly successful with this in New Mexico as a two-term governor.
Well, for starters, I think that you have to put a stop to the growth in spending, and that was something that I was successful at as governor of New Mexico. Look, it takes Congress to go along with cutting spending, and I do believe that we should balance the federal budget. I think the consequences of a $20 trillion debt, and that will be the debt that we will have when Obama leaves office, is going to be irreparable. I think it's going to have dire consequences on this country, and that we need to fix it now. And of course, that's taking on the entitlements. But you can't pay it back. You can't start unless you start to decrease spending, and that has never really happened before. As President of the United States, I can veto spending, something that I did as governor of New Mexico, and that has a positive impact.
Well, you've sued the Presidential Debate Commission to be included as a member of a third party, saying that if you're nominated and on the ballot as a candidate in enough states to become president, you have a right to debate. Even Fox has stonewalled you. Now, if you don't poll well, you don't get in. So if you get in and don't poll well, do you think that do you think that you'll be able to get enough public attention to be able to eventually debate?
Well, you know, there are a couple things. First of all, I'm not delusional here about running for president, having gotten 1% of the vote last time. Are things going to change this time? Well, maybe there are a couple of factors that might change it. One is it looks like Trump is going to be the nominee. The other looks like it's going to be Hillary. Well, is anything going to change under Hillary? And has Hillary not promised everything to everybody? And then regarding Trump, I get the lure. It's the lure that I gave New Mexico when I ran for governor. Look, I'm my own man. I'm paying for my own campaign. I'm successful in business. I'm going to apply those same common sense principles to government. Well, I got elected. Well, look at Trump. This is the pitch he's making. I think people are buying into the pitch. But then you start off with, well, what is he going to do then when he gets in office? And the first thing he's going to do is deport 11 million illegal immigrants. Lindsay, I don't think I ever said anything as stupid as that. That is absolutely ridiculous, and building a fence across the border is too. So I think there are going to be a lot of disenfranchised Republicans, and I think there are going to be a lot of disenfranchised voters that may look to an alternative. I could be providing that alternative, and I could bump up to a level in the polls where now all of a sudden the libertarian view has to be addressed on every single issue of the day. That's one thing. The other is the Presidential Debate Commission. We're suing the Presidential Debate Commission. If the Libertarian candidate for president is in the presidential debates, that could absolutely be a game changer. But other than that, you know, what's to say anything changes? Look, people need to wake up.
Well, here's a question. Speaking of the Republican ticket, you know, do you feel that when it comes to new candidates, you know, you mentioned Donald Trump, look at Ben Carson, they're not political establishment candidates. Do you see a tide turning where voters are more likely to consider, you know, outside of the box ideas, maybe libertarians, third parties, businessmen, doctors? Do you see a tide changing as to what we were facing maybe 10 years ago?
I think that's the I think this is an indication of just how frustrated people are. 80% of Americans want more than two choices, Democrats and Republicans, and yet they have no idea why there isn't another choice. The Presidential Debate Commission, I think, is at the heart of why there aren't any more choices. I think that the Democrats and the Republicans collude with one another to just debate one another, and I think that networks may play a role in that also, but that's part of the lawsuit that we have filed, and they have until tomorrow to actually respond to it.
Well, let me ask you about this libertarian viewpoint. If you got on the podium and could explain in a soundbite or two what Libertarian is to the typical voter who may have no idea what you're talking about, what would you tell them are the traits of Libertarian thinking?
I think Libertarians are classical liberals. I'm a classical liberal, which is being fiscally conservative and socially liberal. The notion of, in this case, cutting spending, government is way too big, let's get it under control, let's balance the federal budget, or there will be horrible consequences, and then personal liberty and freedom and the responsibility that goes along with that. So absolutely staunch supporters of civil liberties. That, in a nutshell, is what it is to be a classical liberal.
And of course, you also mentioned the social liberality, which you, of course, have been a big example of. So the Libertarian Convention is Memorial Day. You think you'll be the guy?
Well, you know what? It's a process. You started off by saying another person enters the fray. Lindsay, just for viewers, there are 350 people that register to run for President of the United States with the Federal Elections Commission. There are 150 Democrats running for president. There are 130 Republicans. There are 25 Libertarians. I think it's a terrific process where you've got to go out and you've got to debate and you have to discuss. And the Libertarian Party, in this case, makes the choice as to which candidate best represents the Libertarian Party. I'm going to give it my best shot. We'll see what happens.
Okay, you think you should be the guy, though? Is that what you're saying?
Well, should is, I'm not going to change what it is I'm saying or what it is that I've done. I'd like to think that I offer a pretty compelling argument to be the next Libertarian nominee, but look, it's a process, and I respect the process, and I'm going to engage in it, and I hope everybody in the process has a fair shake. That's the argument I'm making to the American people. Is Libertarian candidates should have a fair shake in the general election. Well, within the primary, I think all the candidates in the primary should have a fair shake also.
All right. Well, we will definitely be keeping a close eye on this process. Governor Gary Johnson, thank you very much.
Lindsay, thank you very much.